And when you live by faith, things you've already defeated, you don't let them run you out of town, but you tell them.
It is important to know what season we are in. It is always important to know what season we are in. And I like to tell people that one of the real problems with leadership in churches and in clergy is not knowing what season we're in. I tell people, my hair is gray because I'm not in my spring season. Okay? And I might dye my hair, but that doesn't change my season. It is important to know that when you are in the fall season, you need to be planting for spring crops. And you need to be cultivating folks who are in a younger season. It is good to know that Reverend Willie D. Francois, soon to be Doctor of Ministry, Willie D. Francois, in fact, I'm speaking the word before it comes, is in a season of his prophetic ministry that is rising and becoming more and more beautiful. And those of us who are in our falls need to give him space and place to be heard. Yes. Amen. Because I've been around older preachers who did not want to hear younger preachers. Somebody needs to say amen. Amen. Doc, you're not in that house. We want you to be you, and we're thankful that you're here. Now, he is wearing a suit because I failed to tell him he didn't have to dress up. And so you can tell me afterwards, Pastor, you blew that. But otherwise, I'm proud to say we are glad to have Reverend Dr. Willie D. Francois in the house. I'm not going to tell him to preach because the Lord's already hearing that. After the meditation and the prayer, he's going to come and do what he's told to do.
Merciful God, your desire to bring us into your commonwealth is so great that you seek us in the places of our ignorance and the forgotten corners where we hide in despair. Gather us into your loving embrace and pour upon us your wise and Holy Spirit, so come faithful servants in whom you rejoice, and with all company of heaven. Amen. What a privilege it is to share today. I thank God for Pastor Griffin for this invitation, and you for accepting this invitation, accepting me coming here today. There is a word today that has already been read for us. I want to read that complaint again from Elijah. It said, then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, what are you doing here, Elijah? He answered, I've been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with a sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away. It's printed for you there in the bulletin, but today I want to talk about fighting a fatigued faith. Fighting a fatigued faith. Frederick Douglass, a complex American intellectual and radical abolitionist, in his work for black freedom, he purports that this struggle may be may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one. It may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. For power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. We as people of Jesus, we as those who have been called by God's embrace of love, understand that we can never be about the work of faith without also being about the work of justice. We are here today because many of us throughout the week, we have given so much of ourselves. We've poured out so much energy. We have exhausted so much of our strength this week. And many of us came to church today because we needed a refill. We needed God to breathe life into us anew, because although we may not like it, we are in a struggle. We are in a battle for the soul of America. We are in the battle for the soul of Little Rock, and we have understood that this struggle, this battle that we are in, it may be physical or it may be moral, but it is a struggle, because power concedes nothing without a demand. And that is why we are here today, because sometimes you need an injection of hope, an injection of love, an injection of power, so that you have the courage to speak from power to power, because power concedes nothing without a demand. We are here today because God has placed a mandate on us to be love, to be courage, to be peace, to be strength in a world that is constantly draining us. And that is why many of us need to be in a place where you can be nurtured by the Spirit and the love and the hope of a God that will not fail you. This is what I love about God, because we were created in the image of an ever-living, ever-loving, ever-present, ever-creative God that will not let us go. I feel like I must say it again. We were created in the image of an ever-living, ever-loving, ever-present, ever-creative God that will not let us go. And the battle that we are in to redeem the soul of America requires sometimes that you have to be in the presence of God in order to gain the strength and the courage to do and say what only you can do and say. Here As many of us, we come to this moment, we come to this day with our own pet projects of what we feel God is calling us into, what we feel God has assigned to our hands. But we are in a struggle. And if I can be honest with you, the fact that we're in a struggle also determines the fact that sometimes our faith dwindles. Sometimes our stamina is compromised. There are some days that we feel we no longer have the fight in us. Maybe I'm by myself, but is anybody else here to say some days you don't feel like you have the strength to do anything else? You don't feel like you have the courage to say anything else because me, tweet after tweet, poll after poll, policy after policy, sometimes my optimism empties. That's why I come to church, because bigoted comment after bigoted comment, image after image of the warehousing of migrant children, report after report of police brutality and police killings. Sometimes my fight takes flight and I flirt with giving up. Have you ever been at the place where you just wanted to give up? And that is a strange thing to feel, because we know that our God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all we can ask or think. But sometimes I just want to give up, because the battle within this love revolution that we have been assigned to, that we have to learn how to fight the fight and stay courageously motivated, compassionately energized, resiliently sane when the world is doing everything it can to drain your strength. But this is why I love God, because when my faith flatlines, I need a theological defibrillator. When my faith fails, I need to know that God can give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. When I feel the fatigue of my life, I thank God for those theological vitamins that remind me that I was created in the image of an ever-living, ever-loving, ever-present, ever-creative God that will not let me go. That is where we find our protagonist of the text today. That is where we find Elijah in a posture of misery without company. The prophet's life examples the fact that how being faithful to the call of life, liberation, and justice can produce some emotional and some mental fatigues. Have you ever found yourself at that address, the place of emotional, spiritual, and mental fatigue, because you knew God called you to do something great. You knew God called you to live outside of the box. But that is the hazard of being called, that in the process of doing the work that God has called you to do, you will find yourself under some juniper trees. You will find yourself in some wildernesses that are indications that the worshiping God and serving God are not insurance policies against life's downturns. I know how prosperity theologians and prosperity preachers have tried to convince us that the more you give to God, the more things will work out to you. But I'm wondering, am I looking at some people today who know very well that even when you're giving God your all, that there are some days that you feel abandoned. Even when you give God your all, there are some days you feel like there's no more strength in you. Am I by myself in here today? I need somebody who can affirm the fact that faith is not an insurance policy against life's downturns, but faith is a resource that gives you the power to fight back when your fight takes flight. I love this right here, because we find the protagonist asleep, choking in the firm grip of hopelessness and depression. We find Elijah the prophet not wallowing in the victory of his last chapter. You have to remember that in chapter 18, just one chapter before, he had demonstrated that his God, the God of the Exodus, his God, the God of the covenant, his God, Yahweh, had demonstrated power over all the other gods. But we don't find him living in the power of his last victory, but we find him wallowing under a juniper tree, and then we find him cowering in a cave, because depressive episodes come after this. Depressive episode comes after ending a national drought and after demonstrating that his God was the real God. But here's what I love is that even when you find yourself in depressive situations, even when you find yourself in moments where your faith has been fatigued, you have to understand that we were created in the image of a God that's bigger than government. And that ought to really excite somebody in here today, because when government fails, God does not fail. When gavels fail, God does not fail. When guns fail, God does not fail. I'm glad that my God is bigger than the gods of government. My God is bigger than the gods of whiteness, the gods of patriarchy, the gods of materialism, the gods of militarism, the gods of failed education, the gods of a Congress that wants to steal our health care when we're serving a Jesus who healed the sick with no copay. We ought to be grateful that our God is bigger than the gods of government. And I'm grateful that Elijah shows us when he defeats those 450 prophets of Baal, those state-sponsored chaplains, that he demonstrates that real power is when you learn how to look at power and say, not today. When you look at power and say, thus saith the Lord. Anybody else in here tired of those state-sponsored chaplains that care more about getting invited to the Capitol to pray than they care about serving the poor? Anybody else tired of those state-sponsored chaplains who want to get invited to galas and to banquets to give the benediction, but they don't know how to feed the hungry and serve those who are unfortunate? Anybody grateful that you're not a state-sponsored chaplain, but you're a prophet of the living God? Here it is. We find him. I gotta rush. But we find him that any of us, if you've been walking with God just one day, you ought to be comforted by the fact that when your life has been confiscated by the move of God, that there are just some low moments. Anybody ever felt faithful but abandoned, committed but disempowered, prepared but fractured, transformed but resource deficient, loyal but bewildered, blessed but burdened by the work God has called you to? But even when your faith flatlines, God can restore you. Let me say a couple of things, Pastor. Let me say a few things from this text as I look at what it means to fight a fatigue faith. Elijah shows me that if you want to fight your fatigue faith, you have to first learn how to detach from paralyzing practices. That's right. If you want to overcome the fatigue, the flatlining, the failure of your faith, you have to learn how to detach, disengage from paralyzing practices. Look right here in the text. After epically creating a platform for God to demonstrate superiority and existence over the illusory gods of the empire, Elijah plummets into a paralysis of the soul because the queen, the monarch, Jezebel, makes a threat in his direction that he has just lived to see God cast down fire and demonstrate power and superiority over existence. But when we find Elijah after this great victory, we find him running away from Jezebel, cowering under a tree, and then in a corner. And as I looked at this, I thought there was something strange, something off about how he was practicing his faith in the midst of a crisis, because after this monumental victory over Baal and these bought out prophets, that we find Jezebel issuing a threat. Did you hear the threat that you read earlier today? Jezebel says, if I don't kill you by this time tomorrow, the same way you killed my prophets, may the gods do to me what you did to them. I thought about that long and hard, Dr. Griffin, and I've realized that he hears this this threat and he starts to run. He starts to move because there's a fatal distance between Elijah's sight and Elijah's memory because Elijah sees the threat and decides to run, but Elijah has forgotten that his God is the God of power. Now, why am I saying that? Because his practices don't make sense to me, because she makes the threat in the name of gods that have already been defeated. And I need somebody in here to know that you've already defeated more than you know you've defeated. You've already done more than you thought you've done. Did y'all hear what I just said? In the text, he starts to run because the queen makes a threat in the name of gods that he's already been defeated. And I need somebody in here that can thank God that you don't have to run from stuff you've already beat before. You don't have to run from realities you've already conquered before. You don't have to lose your courage in the midst of crises where you already have W's under your belt. Am I looking at any winners in here today that can say we have too much victory on our resume for us to run and rebel, for us to run and feel like there is no hope? And here's my word for somebody in here today: you should not let expired people and expired realities and expired situations to dictate your feet, because you've been called not to live by your sight. You've been called to live by your faith. And when you live by faith, things you've already defeated, you don't let them run you out of town, but you tell them, you need to be afraid of me, because the same God that I worked with last time is the same God that I'm working with this time. I understand. Elijah thought he had won that battle. Elijah thought that was one and done. But if anybody's in here ever had to wrestle with evil, you know evil finds a way to re-entrench itself. You know evil finds a way to keep on coming back and coming back. Can you see the weight on this prophet of having to now face what he thought was done? That's just like us. We thought homophobia was dead, but it's still alive and well. We thought school segregation was dead, but it's making a comeback now. We thought racism was dead, but it keeps on resurfacing. But you ought to be able to tell yourself, if you beat it before, you can surely beat it again. This isn't the first time we've had to fight the NRA. This isn't the first time we've seen somebody like Mitch McConnell. This isn't the first time we've had to fight somebody like Betsy DeVos. This isn't the first time we've had a racist in the White House. This isn't the first time we've seen an attorney general that wants to lock up people and roll back the gangs of the civil rights era. If you know you beat it before, you ought to tell yourself, we can fight it again. This isn't the first time you've seen bills you couldn't pay. This isn't the first time you've seen sickness and health deterioration. This isn't the first time you've seen crises and tragedy. And if you've seen it before and lived to tell the story, you ought to tell yourself, you can do it again. This is why I love what Howard Thurman says. Howard Thurman says, what happens to you won't destroy you unless you allow it to get into you. And many of us, we've allowed our danger and our crisis to chase us to the wilderness. Have you ever been in the wilderness? I'm talking about a dry place, a lifeless place, a hopeless place. Am I the only one that's ever had the journey through the wilderness? But I'm grateful that my trips to the wilderness don't have to destroy me if I don't let the wilderness get in me, because you can live in the wilderness, but you don't have to let the wilderness live in you, because you are a people of power. Anybody grateful that you have power? Now you know there's a difference between position and power. There are a lot of folk with position, but I'm grateful that when I don't have position, I still have power. Any powerful folk in here today? today that can thank God that even when you don't have position, you do have power, because positions come from committees, constitutions, and people, but power comes from the ever-living, ever-loving, ever-present, ever-creative God. Am I talking to anybody in here today that can say, I may not have an elected position, but I still have power. Even when folk don't let me on the committee, I still have power, because power does not come from a badge, a gavel, a robe, or a collar, but power comes from your ever-living God. Can I get some folk in here this morning that can thank God you still have power, that can thank God that even when you don't have position, you do have power? Am I by myself? There's a difference between position and power, because position is about what other people can see, but power is about what you and God know about who you are. Pharaoh had position, but Moses had power. Sisera had position, but Deborah had the power. Ahab had position, but Elijah had the power. The Sadducees had position, but Mary Magdalene had the power. The Pharisees had position, but the disciples had the power. Oh, y'all not feeling that? That Lincoln had position, but Harriet Tubman had the power. The bus driver had the position, but Rosa Parks had the power. Bull Connor had the position, but Martin Luther King Jr. had the power. The NYPD had position, but Malcolm X had the power. Trump might have the position, but we have the power. Pontius Pilate had the position, but Jesus had the power. Somebody else shout, I've got the power. You got to live. You got to avoid, detach from paralyzing practices, because you don't live by your sight. You live by your memory. And I need 10 people in here today that can thank God that when you look back over your life, and sometimes in order to move forward, you need a flashback. You need to look back over your life and think about every way God has made, every deliverance God has sent your way, every healing God has bestowed upon you. Is there anybody in here that can thank God you have a treasure trove of memories that will show you that God will never leave you or forsake you? Anybody got any testimonies from 2010 on how the Lord made a way? Anybody can look back over the 1970s over how the Lord made a way? Sometimes you got to look back in order to move forward. I think they call that Sankofa faith. When you have Sankofa faith, you look back to move forward. You have to detach from paralyzing practices, but secondly, you need to develop a propelling perspective. You need to think in a way that moves you forward. And here's what I love. Is that when your faith fails and when you cannot see the way, God will do some holy intrusions in your life to show you that your story is not as pitiful as you're characterizing it. Here it is. After consuming the food provided in the desert, Elijah, he now moves through the dry, dusty wilderness to the mountain of God. That when we find him on the mountain, it's not just any mountain, but it's the mountain. It's Mount Horeb. Y'all may not be familiar with Mount Horeb, but Mount Horeb is a synonym in Deuteronomistic history for Sinai. He moves from the dry and dusty wilderness to the mountain of God, Mount Sinai. You know, Mount Sinai is where it's believed that God gave the commandments and established a covenant with the children of Israel. And it was there when he gets to the mountain of God that he hears a voice that says, Elijah, what are you doing here? And he gives this voice, this sad, sorrowful, pitiful story. I'm all by myself. myself. Nobody's here to help me. And God, and the voice tells him, go out and stand on the mountain because God is about to pass by. I love this because we find him in the midst of the cave, but he hears a voice that calls him out of the cave that says, come on out, for God is getting ready to pass by. And you all may know the story. You look like you've been to church a time or two. It said that he saw the earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. He saw the windstorm, but God was not in the windstorm. He saw the fire raging, but God was not in the fire. But it wasn't until he heard sheer silence that he came out of the cave. I know some KJV readers in here, King James Version of the Bible, you're used to hearing that still small voice. But the Hebrew says the sound of sheer silence. He looks for God in the fire, but God's not in the fire. He looks for God in the windstorm, but God is not in the windstorm. He looks for God in the earthquake, but God is not in the earthquake. I looked at this again because he's looking for God in signs and symbols that he knows God has moved in before, because he's in a familiar place expecting God to do a familiar thing. He goes to the mountain of God, and he's not just in any cave, but he's in the cave. This is the cave where it's believed that Moses saw God's backside. He's in a place where he knows God will do something extravagant. And let me pause for a second, and I want to ask, is there anybody in here where you have some places in your life where you know God will speak, you know God will move, you know God? That's why some folk came into New Millennium today, because sometimes you need to be in some places where you know God has the power to do what only God can do. I wish I had somebody who can thank God that there's some places where you just expect God to do a miracle. You expect God to do something dynamic, but the problem is he goes to a familiar place and expects God to do a familiar thing, but God does not speak through the fire. God does not speak through the storm. God does not speak through the earthquake. He probably thought God would speak through the fire because that's how God spoke to Moses, and that's how God rained down in the last chapter. He thinks God's going to speak through the storm and the earthquake because that's how God spoke to Job. But you ought to be grateful that we all are in the image of a God that can do a new thing. Anybody grateful that God can do new things in old spaces? Anybody grateful that God can do new things in some familiar spaces? I wish I had a few more testimonies in here of some folk who could celebrate that God can do something new in your same old neighborhood. God can do something new in your same old job. God can do something new in your same old body. God can do something new in some familiar places. In fact, I learned how to ask God, God, surprise me with what you're going to do in there. Anybody ever had to pray that prayer? God, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know when you're going to do it. But God, do it however you want to do it. And God will surprise you that sometimes all you can say is, wow. Have you ever had a wow testimony where God moved in your life and all you can say was, wow, God, I never expected you to do it this way. Wow, God, I never expected you to heal my body. Wow, God, I never expected you to save my children. Wow, God. Anybody ever had a wow testimony where all you could do was have an eye-popping, jaw-dropping, knee-slapping, wow testimony? Have you ever checked your email and all you could say was wow? Have you ever left a day of work and all you could say was wow? Have you ever been on the protest line and all you could say was wow? Because God will do the unexpected in some old places, and all you can say is wow. He. Sometimes you got to take God out of the box. Sometimes you have to take the brakes off of God and just let God move in the way that only God can move. But I looked at this again and I realized there's another way of looking at this because it does not say that God was in the silence.
That's right.
God's not in the earthquake. God's not in the windstorm. God's not in the fire.
Right.
But it doesn't say that God was in the silence. Right. It says that the prophet heard the silence and came out of the cave. Right. Because I had to go back and look at the Hebrew, and I looked at it, and it doesn't say that God is about to pass by. Right. It said that as God was passing by, the wind started blowing. Yeah. As God was passing by, the earth started shaking. Yeah. As God was passing by, the fire started raging. As God was passing by, the prophet was hiding. Yeah. Yeah. I wish I was strong enough to preach that today, because God is moving and nature is responding, but humanity's hiding. That it says he comes out of the cave when he hears the silence, after the storm has passed, after the fire has ceased, after the earth stops shaking, then he comes out of the tomb. Maybe he doesn't come out when he comes out when he hears the silence because he's too afraid of the earthquake. He's too afraid of the fire. He's too afraid of the storm because God is moving, but he can't see the move of God because he's too busy hiding. And I want to know, is there anybody in here that can say, I want God so much that I'll find God in the midst of my fires. I'll find God in the midst of my storms. I'll find God in the midst of my... Has your life ever shaken? God was right there. Have you ever been through the fire? God was right there. I need 10 people in here today that can say no matter what the climate is, I've learned how to look for God wherever I am because God will never leave me or forsake me. And in the midst of my fires, God is keeping me. In the midst of my storms, God is keeping me. In the midst of my earth-shaking, earth-shattering moments, my God is with me. Is there a testimony in the house of how God kept you in the midst of your fire? Anybody ever been in the heat and God shielded you? Have you ever been shaken and God stabilized you? Have you ever been blown away and God had to shelter you? Because our God is able to move in the midst of storms, in the midst of fire, in the midst of earthquakes. He comes out of the cave, and when he comes out of the cave, he gets the same question. Elijah, what are you doing here? Because not only do you have to detach from paralyzing practice, not only do you have to develop a propelling perspective, but you also have to determine to participate with power. That you can't be passive in this life. Mm-hmm. The life of faith is not about you being cemented in one place. The life of faith is about you being active and working and moving, and you have to participate in the power of God. I love the fact that God has made us co-creators of our lives. God has made us co-participants in this movement of hope, love, and joy. Anybody grateful that God doesn't just do everything for you, but God says, I'm enlisting you to participate in the manifestation of love in the world. Some of us want to know why the world is as bad as it is. It's because we refuse to participate. Some of us want to know why our school systems are crashing and look like prison preparatory academies. It's because the church, the people of God, Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and all other faith traditions have stopped living their faith and just want to sit their faith. You don't get extra credit for coming to church. You get joy when you take your church into the world. Here it is. He gives God the same old sad story that he gave God before he went to the cave. He says, I'm all by myself. There's nobody here helping me. Have you ever told yourself that story? That I don't have any support. Nobody believes in me. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not wise enough. I'm not equipped enough. Have you ever told yourself that sad story that you committed your own attack against your own life because of the sad stories you tell yourself? But here's what I love. When you tell yourself sad stories, God will hack into your hard drive and give you a new story. I am grateful that God is a better hacker than China and Russia, because when God hacks into your life, God will give you a new story. Is there anybody in here that can thank God for a new story? That you've learned how to tell yourself, I am strong, I am courageous, I am powerful, I do have authority, I can live through this, I am a thriver and a survivor. You better start telling yourself some new stories, because you were not created from junk. You were created from a God who has all power, and a God who walks with us and talks with us and tells us that we belong to God. I don't know about you, but every now and then I need God to rewrite my story and to reroute my journey, because when God rewrites your story, God will reroute your journey. God said, I'm sending you back where you came from, and when you get back from the place you've been running from, you will find that everything you've been looking for was already waiting for you. I wish I had a witness in here that could say, no, I'm never resource deficient. Everything I need, God has already placed around me. And I'm grateful that my doubt does not disqualify me from my divine duty. I feel like I need to say that again. My doubt does not disqualify me from my divine duty. Maybe third time's a charm, Judge. I said my doubt does not disqualify me from divine. Have you ever had some doubtful situations? Have you ever had some moments where you felt like all you could do was run away? But God didn't call you to be a fugitive. God called you to be faithful. And sometimes you got to go back and let your enemies know that they can't write your story. You got to go back and let some enemies know that they can't dictate your journey, because God will rewrite your story and reroute your journey. And when you go back, you have a new assignment. I love that. That my doubt does not disqualify me, but my doubt sets me up to realize that God has more work for me to do. And the work we've been called to do, we shall not fail, because we love a God that has never failed. I wish I had 10 people in the house today that can thank God that God never fails, that can thank God that people may fail, but oh, our God will never fail, because our God can do what no other power, Holy Ghost power, can do. Have you ever been in the midst of crisis and God had to show you that when you go back, I'll keep you and sustain you and nurture you, because our God never fails. I'm done. I'm in my seat. But a couple of years ago, I had to go to the hospital to visit one of our members. She was low sick. I'm from Houston. We say low sick in the deep south. We say low sick. And she was low sick. We didn't think she was going to make it. But we went into that room. We laid hands on that sister. We prayed for her. And she came home 2 weeks later. That's a lot to shout about, because our God never fails. I know somebody ought to be grateful about that. That God is still raising up the the sick and doing the impossible because our God never fails. I left that hospital room. We didn't know whether she was going to come home or not. I went in that hospital room. I laid hands. I prayed. We left that hospital room. I'm on the elevator now. And when I'm on this elevator, there's this sister there who has on a long white coat. She has a stethoscope around her neck. She has some black shoes on. There was some red on the bottom of her shoes. Maybe she stepped in something. I don't know. They were red bottom shoes. And so I say, she must have the bag. So I say, sister, what do you do here? She says, well, I'm a cardiologist specialist. I say, oh, you're a cardiologist. She said, no, sir. I'm a cardiologist specialist. I say, okay, excuse me. Well, what does a cardiologist specialist do? She said, well, let me give it to you in layman's terms. I'm the one they call when the cardiologist fails. And I say, okay, you a bad sister. You a bad sister. I say, you must have the bag. She said, I do all right. And she said, well, what do you do here? Because I was looking good. I had on a nice blue suit. I had brown shoes on. I had cufflinks in my shirt. I had my name on my shirt because sometimes I forget my own name. I was looking good. I had a bow tie on. I promise you, I looked like I belonged in that hospital. And she said, well, sir, what do you do here? I say, no, I don't work here. She said, well, what were you doing here? I said, I was coming here to visit a friend. She said, well, you are all in my business. Can I get in your business? I say, okay, well, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I work for the one they call when you fail. Because our God will never, ever, ever fail. Will somebody thank God that God will never fail? Won't God make a way for you? Won't God open doors for you? Won't God provide for you? Won't God give you joy? Our God never fails.
That's not prosperity gospel. That's promising gospel.